When I was young or younger, whichever your opinion may be, we had a tradition in my family, and it was something that was taught to us, I guess, by my mom, that, whenever we passed in front of a Catholic church, we would make the sign of the cross. And it got to be, and I was little, didn't know why, but I just knew I had to do it. Kind of sometimes you worry because mom might swat you. But the thing is that we got into the habit of doing it. And I just did it and didn't realize why until, I got a little older. But I ride with a lot of people, and I still do it today, and I ride with a lot of good Catholics, who no longer do this. They no longer have this practice that when you pass in front of a Catholic church, that they make the sign of the cross. Now, I don't correct people, but it makes you think. And some time ago, I was listening to a speaker, and one day he made a statement, and he said, if we forget why we do something, we eliminate it. Think how true that is. He said, if we forget why we do something, we eliminate it. You see, if we don't pass on some of these traditions and know why we do them, they're going to fade away. And to know why we make the sign of the cross when we pass in front of a Catholic church is because we know the tabernacle is here. Jesus Christ is truly present in that Catholic church. So when we pass in front of that church, we make the sign of the cross to reverence Christ. And by reverencing Christ, we reverence ourselves. Isn't that an amazing thought? That by that simple little act of making the sign of the cross when I pass in front of a church, I not only reverence Christ, but I reverence myself. Now I do a lot of driving in New Orleans, and there's a church on every corner, so I'm making the sign of the cross all day long. Because sometimes you don't know if it's a Catholic church or not, so I guess some of those other churches get blessings too. But as Catholic Christians, we have to know that we have a Lord and Savior who wants us to have the things we need. He wants to do for us. We listen to the gospel today, right? Bartimaeus, okay? Not every time Jesus healed someone of whatever affliction does it tell us who he is. But Bartimaeus teaches us so much in this little gospel. But then is there really a little gospel? The first thing Bartimaeus teaches us is perseverance in prayer, right? The first time he called out for Jesus, Jesus didn't hear him. And the people around him told him to be silent. So he called out all the more. He called out louder. Have pity on me. So Jesus called him. You see, that perseverance in prayer, he didn't just stop there. And I know I gave a homily one day, and I talked about a friend who was diagnosed with cancer. And he said he went into a chapel and he prayed. And at that moment, he knew that Christ was going to heal him. So he said he never prayed for that again. But if we don't feel like we're being heard, we need to continue in that prayer. How many of us have been praying for something for years and feel like that prayer hasn't been answered? Trust me, if we look down deep, God has been answering all of our prayers. But it's that perseverance that he's looking for, right? It's for us to continue on in faith. That second part that Bartimaeus teaches us. Because you see, Bartimaeus, here is this blind man. Now, it doesn't give us a lot of history. We don't know if he was blind from birth, if he became blind from an accident, or whatever happened later on in life. But all we know is that his only source of income was to sit on the side of the road and beg. There was no government assistance. There was no charitable organizations that took care of people like him. So he had to beg for the things that he had. He had to rely on the people passing by. It was a whole different time, a whole different age. But he was listening, you see. The whole region was abuzz about everything that Jesus Christ was doing. Every time Jesus healed someone, the word would get spread around. So when he heard that Jesus was coming, in faith, he called out to Jesus. In faith, he knew that this Jesus Christ, this Jesus of Nazareth, could save him, could save his sight, could give him what he needed. The third thing Bartimaeus teaches us is about courage. You see, because when society was trying to hold him down, saying, "Hush, be quiet," he called out even louder. You see, he didn't let his needs or his need to meet Jesus be stopped by the people around him. He knew what he wanted, he knew what he needed, and he went after it. He had the courage to ask Christ for what he needed. The last time I gave a homily, I gave you homework, and I hope that you did it. That was about putting a little sign on your mirror: Jesus, others, and then yourself. So today we're going to do an exercise. Ready? All I need you to do is to close your eyes and imagine that you're in this church by yourself. You're the only person here. And you look up at the altar, and behind the altar is Jesus Christ sitting on his throne. And he looks at you and he says, "What is it that you want me to do for you?" Would we have the courage to tell him what we need in our lives? Would we have the courage to be able to answer that question if the Savior, if the Lord and King was to ask us that question? Could we answer that question? Would we be brave enough to speak out to Jesus? Or will we just sit there? Because we have to know that he came not only to save the world, but he came to give us the things that we need in our life, to heal us of this spiritual blindness that we have. Because you see, miracles happen around us every day. Do we see them? Do we see how God is working in our lives every day? See, Bartimaeus taught us all of these things, right? He taught us in faith what God can do for us. He taught us to be brave and to stand up for what we believe. He taught us to be able to stand out even when the crowds are telling us no, to stand up and holler all the louder. To be that witness of our faith to the rest of society. God knows our world today needs witnesses. And he taught us to persevere in prayer. To continue to pray even if we don't feel like we're being heard. To continue on to cry out to Christ for those things that we need. Because we have a God who wants us to have the things that we need. Not necessarily what we want. Bartimaeus teaches us so much in today's gospel. His example is what we should be doing. As disciples of Jesus Christ, as those followers that we're all called to be, we should have those three things in our lives: perseverance, courage, and faith. And that faith should be a witness to everyone around us. So when we get that opportunity to sit in front of the Master, will we have the courage to answer his question? What is it that you want me to do for you?